we'll record the meeting, and then if you want to go back and look at something, you should be able to do that. I will get this posted to YouTube at some point in a not too distant future, and I'll also be posting that in Canvas. Has anybody tried looking at Canvas lately? I'm hearing a lot of coughing. Are you guys going to make it through the class?
I think I will.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little chilly tonight. So I've seen a little rain, but we'll see how it goes. But anyway, I wanted to cover off a couple things on the framing, or at least show you where some things came from. So let me see, where was I? I thought. Well, let's see. I don't know. Can you see this? Anybody?
Nope.
Okay, this is a page out of the
You can't see
estimating
anything.
book. Yeah, you can see it? So,
No, I can't.
no. How about now?
Nope.
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 Well, we'll have to find out what that particular problem is, because I don't know what that is. Let's go back to oh, there you are. Now I can see Shane. Very
Hi.
nice. How you doing?
All right.
So it says I'm supposedly sharing the screen now.
Yeah, we could see something now.
Okay. Well, let me figure out what's going on. So. That I turn off. Move that. Okay, can you see that now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're making some progress. Okay. So this is out of the estimating book. So I'll be sending a copy of this out to you after we're done tonight. So I'll send it to you in a PDF. I just wanted to show you where some of the numbers came from. So this is just some pricing for some lumber. What page is this? So this is some framing assemblies. I just wanted to look at the board foot. So this particular page, which you will receive, this has just some framing lumber costs. They talk about MBF, 1,000 board feet. I know some people still seem to have some confusion on when you buy things, do you pay for by the board foot, or do you pay for the individual boards? And the truth of the matter is, it's a little bit of both. And so if we look at this Douglas fir #2 and better, which is typical framing lumber, green just means it's not seasoned. KD means they've thrown it in a kiln and they've dried it to about 15% moisture content. And if you leave it outside on a day like this when it's wet, it's not going to be kiln dried lumber anymore. So you probably spent some money you didn't need to. But you can see here in this particular column, they have an MBF price. And so this is just for material. This doesn't include the labor. And they're showing $860.05. And then for 8 foot, 12-foot, 16-foot lengths, they have a price. So if you're going to buy a 8-footer, its individual price would be $13.80, but that's based on this 1,000 board foot price. Let me see if I can show you that. Gotta move something. Need to change my workspace around a little bit. So let's see. Okay. So I just did a little calculation to show you where this came from. So 2x12, 2 board feet per foot. So if it's 8 feet long, there's 8 feet times 2 board feet per foot is 16. And if you multiply this 860.05 or $860 is what most people would do, divided by 1,000 board feet, you're going to get a unit price of $13.76. If it was 12 feet long, you'd have 12 feet times 2 board feet per foot, which would give you 24 board feet in that particular lumber. And if you multiply it by the cost per 1,000, so you're multiplying by the 860.05 divided by 1,000, you'd get a cost of $20.64. And if we have 16 foot long, same thing, we have 16 feet, 2 board feet per foot, so it'd be 32 board feet times the 860.05 divided by 1,000 would give you 27.52. And so the reason I do that is because if we look right here, here's our 860, 1,000 board feet. Here's our 8-footer up here. 12 footers, 16 footers, but you can see we've got a price of $13.80, $20.60, $27.50. Now I think they knocked off that 05, but you can see that corresponds pretty closely to the 1376, 2064, 2752. Right. They did some minor rounding, and so that's where those numbers come from. You get charged. Because a lot of time you're not quite sure what lengths you're going to be using, and so if you're doing some preliminary pricing. Now, one other thing I wanted to show you is that you have to read the specs. So if you're going to have some exposed lumber, anybody have any questions on that calculation I just did, first of all? Yay, nay? Okay, if you want, you can go back later, but it's just something you need to occasionally look at. Now look though at the price down here. They're talking about Douglas fir finish and clear. See 'em better, vertical grain. So this is nice architecturally exposed lumber. That's pretty lumber. And if you look at the price here, instead of paying $8.60 per 1,000 board feet, if you order 2x12s in this material, you're paying roughly 10 times as much for the wood. So that architectural wood, if somebody called out, and these are finished pieces of lumber. So this would be clear lumber, no knots, a vertical grain, which means it shouldn't warp too much. You'd be paying for that same board rather than this, if you had a 16-footer, rather than paying $27.50 per board, you'd be paying $245 per board, not counting the tax. So
How to mute it?
If that's buried in your specs, that's gonna be a problem. So,
This.
okay. So any questions on that? You can shake your head, nod. I can only see Shane, so I'm not sure what everybody else is doing. They're probably at the pizza joint, probably having a big party together. So anyway, that's what I wanted to show you. I will make you a copy of this particular sheet. And so depending on the kind of lumber, Douglas fir, that's what we're pretty much using on the West Coast. If I show you a little more of this thing, now this is hemlock right here, which we use hem fir. So if you hear the term hem fir, that's hemlock. That's usually a cheaper wood. So if you'll notice, same grade, but 2x12, it's a softer wood. It's not as strong, and that's cheaper than a Doug fir. So a lot of times for studs, which don't need to be great in terms of structural strength in many cases, the code will allow people will go to hemlock to try and save a couple of bucks. So. Now, if you're using a database, and again, that's what we're using. You want me to make that a little bigger? Yay, nay? I think I can make that. Maybe that was too big. That's, oh, I'm still not quite set up the way I want to be, but I can at least show you with this particular camera. So again, crafted hours, here they're not showing anything because this is just materials. If you look down here though, this is B1. And so B1 is a particular craft somewhere. I made a picture of that for you. And so here at the top, B1, that would be one laborer and one carpenter. If you're using some different group, but they come up with an average cost per man hour or per person hour for that particular crew. And so that crew is going to cost you at least, based on this, $33.67 an hour. If you know you're paying different, you'd plug in that actual cost. But and so what they're showing here is that depending on if you're putting up those 2x12s again, this B1, you get 0.044 hours, crew hours per square foot of installation. So material costs, labor costs, and then there's a total cost over here. So it looks like that's a little bit offset, but that's what you're looking at. So this is looking at about $347 for the material, $1.78 a square foot for the labor, total cost of around $525 a square foot, assuming that labor rate that we were talking about. So now you'll also notice that they're calling out in most cases for plywood. We have plywood here versus OSB, and so plywood is more expensive, generally about 20% more expensive than OSB. So that's why most of the stuff you see in framing is, in fact, OSB rather than plywood, because we make most of our decisions based on what? What's cheap? You guys can talk anytime. You can unmute yourself, so. You know, if I don't get a little bit of feedback from you folks, then I'm gonna be in trouble. Oh, we're up to 10 people. Excellent. So I just checked.
We're all just guessing. It's just a guess.
What?
It's estimating.
Oh, well, estimating is a guess. Hopefully it's an educated guess, but that's why so many people go broke, particularly in construction.
Yeah.
So, but this is just a database that kind of gives you something, and then you have to look at your crew too and figure out if you think they're average productivity or whether they're less than average productivity or whether they're faster. There's some people are much faster with their productivity. But anyway, I'll send these just as some examples so you can take a look since we've been talking about framing. And I know we're trying to get fired up after that big spring break. Who went to the desert?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
I
went to
thought about it.
Glamis.
Oh, and many people out there?
Yeah, there was a lot of people. They actually started closing down parts of it when I was leaving.
Yeah, well, I think they said as a public service, I should hide out anyway, just so people don't have to look at me. I was wearing a mask and the neighbors all said I looked better. So,
Did you draw a mouth and a mustache on the mask?
well, I shaved the beard off. I was thinking about what I was going to do for class and I wound up and I shaved half of it off before I realized I didn't have the little comb on there that just trims the beard rather than shaving it off. So once I got
Yeah.
half of it done,
Yeah.
I wound up with the rest of it. If by popular demand you want the beard back, I'll grow it back. So, and then they have some pricing here for at the bottom of this particular page anyway for installation. And again, there's a square foot cost. They're just listing the material cost in this particular place. They do have a square foot cost in that National Construction Estimator. And the book that this came out of, you can download for free for 30 days from Craftsman Books if you're looking for pricing information.
Mm.
Now, somebody was looking for some square foot costs, and again, this is for kind of speculative. In San Diego, remember, we would have an area adjustment, so probably 20% higher here. So 150, somewhere in that area, it looks like. These are costs right here for the 2016, 2017, 18, 19. These are relative to 1967 costs. Why they have that, I don't know, but what it really telling you, and in the fourth quarter of 2019, things were costing about 9 times as much, or 900% of what they cost in 1967. So, which is why you can no longer buy a house for $20,000, which is, I think, what my mom paid for her house in 1961. So that doesn't work. But why else did I want to show you this thing? Oh, but what you have to be careful of is when you're reading something like that, you need to look at some of the caveats or these rules of thumb. And so it shows construction costs for building a good quality home in a suburban area under competitive condition in each calendar quarter. This thing goes back to 2002, but I just made a copy of a piece of it. Says the home is described below under the section residential rules of thumb. costs include the builder's overhead and profit and a 450 square foot garage, but no basement. Again, remember in San Diego, this would be quite a bit more. And forgot what I was doing there for a minute. So they also tell you that for rural areas, you would be deducting costs primarily because the labor is less. If this was a bigger house, I think this one was 1,500 square foot average. And so they say, you know, add for 1,800 square feet, better quality, you'd add 4%. 2,000, a little bit bigger, you'd add another 3%. Deduct for a house over 2,400, because if all you're doing is building a lot of space is reasonably cheap. The bathrooms and the kitchen is where most of the money is typically spent. If it's 3-story, you can see that the price jumps some more, and if it's masonry construction, it's going to be a little more expensive too. So I threw that in there. And somebody was asking about some general rules of thumb. It's 1,600. And so I pulled this, and again, this comes out of the National Construction Estimator. There are other estimating books. So there are things like this, you know, RS means. But what this does is, again, gives you a description of the house, 1,600 square feet, 1 3/4 bath, 450 square foot garage, conventional floor, stucco exterior, wallboard interior. If you really want to spend a lot of money, you can put, they have a interior clay finish that you can put on the house, so it looks like adobe on the inside, but that's really expensive. So shake roof, we can't here you can't do a wood shake roof because of the fire codes. And then what they've done is done a breakdown. So if you look at this, should add up to all of these items, I think 100% of the cost, but excavation, flat work, foundation. So what they've done is broken it down into the major components and given you a little bit of a percentage cost breakdown. So rough carpentry, you can see, is a fairly big chunk, 8.9% here. So somewhere in that area, 8 to 12%, probably pretty normal. Finish, you can see, is less. Countertops, again, if you want, you can spend as much money as you want on a countertop. Anybody here have those concrete countertops? I can read lips. You can embed Krugerrands in your concrete if you want a real fancy countertop and spend a lot of money. Bath accessories, again, bathroom, kitchen, you can spend as much as you want to. Now this is calling for aluminum windows, so if you want wood windows, price is going to go up. Stucco, you can see, is a significant cost. Gypsum, so interior, exterior finish, without getting too fancy, you're probably at around 7%. Carpet, wiring, lighting fixtures. And then down at the very bottom, they have for overhead and profit, they have about 12.5% listed as being normal. So what you're actually going to wind up with is going to depend on the job. If it's an expensive custom, then your finishes are going to be a lot more. So, but somebody was asking a little bit about that, so I pulled that off. We already went over the craft codes. So I will send that to you. And again, this is average. You may be paying less, you may be paying more. right now. Is anybody working still? Oh, how you doing, Dennis? So that's
Hello.
just, that looks like a still photo that you uploaded. Very nice. So anyway, these are different, just different typical type crews. You might have a different crew working. Oh, there you are. You look much better in person. So, unlike me. So I will, as I said, I will, I've got this on a PDF. I'll send that out to you, and I'll also post it to Canvas. So I don't know if anybody's been looking at Canvas. I posted a few things. Some people were telling me that they weren't able to get in. Supposedly they have fixed that particular problem, but we'll see what happens. So, any questions on any of this so far? No? Okay. Let me get out of that. So, I think I've gotten rid of, we've done that, enough of that. So, let me get rid of that. Huh. Where did I go? Seem to be having some technical difficulties. Please assign a host. Okay.
What are you trying to do?
Well, I'm trying to get back into where I was. I clicked on something. And I thought,
Try clicking the Zoom icon and then meeting controls and then a stop share at the top.
yeah, I don't see any of that though. Oh, here we go. Stop share at the top. Okay. There we are.
Is
Kind
that
of.
what you wanted?
Well, kind of. That helps me a little bit. Let me get to where I wanted to be. Oh, I know what I wanted to do. There we go. We can go back to, I think, sharing. I just need to figure out what I wanted to look at. Oh. Okay, where are we? Just out of curiosity. Is everybody finished with the framing takeoff? Okay, I see one head shaking yes. I see.
Hello, Larry.
Kind of
This is
like
He
that.
wants to send that in.
By the end, let's try and get it done by the end of the week, wrap up the framing and start on the drywall.
You're talking about the first building, right?
Yeah, the first building, the 2-story, 4-bedroom house. So we should probably try and get that done. Hopefully, we're not going to have any more interruptions. And like I said, I apologize a bit for all this craziness.
So should we do anything special about the headers and beams, or should we just sort of lump them all together?
I think you can just lump them all together for now. You know, we'll have some wall framing and so there's some typical type stuff, but I'll take a look at it. We have those board foot costs. We can try and use those. So I think that sounds reasonable. But I'm looking for a little feedback, so you can either do it via Zoom, or you can send me an email what we're trying to figure out how to do. Well, there's a face I haven't seen in a while too. So,
Can see me too.
yeah,
Larry, I have a question.
okay.
I emailed you before like 3 weeks, something like that, about the quiz. When I submitted, it was showing to me it was 11:59 p.m. And
Yeah.
then it showed later that it's late, and I didn't get the grade till today.
Oh, I wouldn't worry about getting it in late. That's a problem with Canvas. It asked me to give a time.
Yeah, but it's not showing any grade on the Canvas till today.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I'm still
Oh.
having problems with Canvas. They sent me a couple notices. I've put in a couple of fix-it tickets or trouble tickets on Canvas. And so some parts of it are working and some parts aren't. But when I put an assignment in Canvas, Canvas usually asks me for when it's due and also when it's going to be available to you. And so usually I put in a range of when it will be available. But if it's late, I don't hold that against anybody unless you want me to.
Okay.
And
Is it okay if we
I'd
just
be-
email it in?
Yeah,
Email
you
to
can.
you?
Yeah, either way is fine. So all we're trying to do now is figure out what kind of works, and things will hopefully get a little more organized as we keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I've been working on because, well, you know, there's a lot to cover. I got 5 different classes and trying to figure out who's doing what in all of them. About half the class has disappeared. I've been trying to get phone numbers so I can call people because we'd like to get you finished. You're over halfway through the semester at this point.
Yeah.
You're almost done. So this is what, April 6th? Last day of class, I think, is May, late May, 28th, maybe. I'll have to double check, but so we're almost finished with all of this stuff. So if you finish the class, I doubt if you're going to get anything less than a C unless you work real hard at it or unless you demand it. Which I never know. But you know, my intent is to, particularly because of all of the breaks and stop start. I'm going to be easier than normal. So, but we can get into things that, you know, if you have a particular interest or you're trying to figure out some information, you know, then you need to let me know. So hopefully now that we're going to be on a 2-day-a-week schedule until the end of the semester, and it's possible they may extend the semester a little bit. but I haven't heard anything definitively on that. Grades have to be in by June 30th, which normally I have to have them in within a week or 2 weeks at the most, but they're giving us some additional time this semester because of all the problems. So we shall see. Omar, did you want to say something? Yay, nay? So, where'd my, oh, I gotta. You look like you've had a hard night. Are you trying to wake up? So, any questions on the plans themselves? So if we're done with framing, then the next thing to do would be to go, typically, part of the framing, go to wall insulation. So what you normally do is you have, you get the wall framing done. Once the wall framing is done, you start doing the rough electrical, rough plumbing, rough mechanical. Normally, try and get the rough mechanical in first because the pipes are bigger. The ductwork is bigger, so you want to get that in. Plumbing is the next biggest in size, and then the electrical, but you don't want the people tripping over each other, getting in each other's way. Once that's done, you get a rough frame inspection where they look at the inspector comes out, looks at the framing, looks at the rough plumbing, looks at the rough electrical, rough mechanical, and then tells you you can proceed. At that point, that's when you start putting in the insulation. You get an inspection for that, or in some cases, the insulating contractor, the sub, or you verify that everything, I swear to God, everything's okay. And you don't have to have them out for that. And then you start with your insulation. So somewhere in there, you got to figure out when you're going to put the windows in too, because usually before you do the exterior lath, you have to get the windows and doors in, get the flashing installed. So happy days. So interior lath, normally drywall. I've had maybe 10 jobs that had plaster specified for the interior. I've seen one of them was built because when the prices came in, plaster is so much more expensive than drywall that most people decided to skip that. There are some expensive interior finishes. So exterior stucco, you can spend a little bit or you can spend a lot. I don't know, anybody here work with pools? You know, with pools, they have regular plaster, that's the cheap stuff. And then they have quartzite, which is more expensive. Lasts longer, and they give a longer warranty for. And then if you want to spend even more money, they have a product called PebbleTech, and that lasts longer and that costs more. And with stucco, you can put on all kinds of different surfaces. And they have a material similar to PebbleTech where you buy it in 5-gallon buckets. It costs about $200 for a bucket for the expensive stuff. And you use that as a color coat and a finish, and gives you much different textures, like little glass beads or something. I've seen that used on a couple jobs. If you're doing EIFS, anybody know what EIFS is? Exterior insulation finish system. So they're putting in some sort of foam. And so if you're trying to all these crazy shapes around the window, they used to do them out of wood most of the time. They do them out of foam these days, and then you're just doing a color coat over the foam. So occasionally it falls off if they don't glue it on right or attach it correctly. So that's the exterior. But again, you can spend a little bit or you can spend a whole bunch of money. So depends on what you want to do. So if you're finished with the wood, I would say start on the drywall and the stucco. So units for stucco or what?
Square feet?
Foot? Square inch? Cubic, square yards.
Oh,
So stucco is done by the square yard. Roofing is done by the square, which is 100 square feet. Square yard is 9 square feet. And usually for stucco, they don't deduct for the openings unless the openings are very, very large. So if you have a garage door, they might deduct for that. But you have a 6040, a 6060 window, they just use a blank price for that. Part of the reason is around the windows and doors, you have to do extra reinforcing and a little bit of extra work. There's extra detailing, there's stucco stop or stucco molding. And so they figure it's about the same. Stucco, you can apply it by hand or you can apply it by machine. With the textures, there's a million different textures. So let me see if I can find some textures. I got too many mice here. What we're doing? Oh yeah. I'll look at that next time. So if we look at the National Construction Estimator, maybe. I don't know why my index window isn't coming up. Cancel. Anybody still with me?
Yep.
Hello?
yep, still here.
Oh, okay.
Is it coming up on another screen?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit. I don't know why this thing isn't
Do you have two monitors and it's coming up on the other
Coming up.
monitor?
No, not yet. I've got another monitor on the way to assist with some of this stuff. Says my network bandwidth is low. So let me go see if somebody's using the internet so I can kick them off. Okay, I'm back, maybe. So, trying to get rid of some, make sure nobody else is using up bandwidth. So you guys have any ideas on what you want to do? How you want to proceed? What's going to be useful for you? Because I need your help. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, if we have a list, if you have something, send it in to me or tell me. So if you don't want to stand in front of other people, so it's okay to say you suck at this point. I probably do. Hopefully I'll suck less as we move through the semester.
Larry, I have another class. I have a math class, and the professor, she upload like a pictures for the sections that we have and the problems. She use
Yeah.
sometimes the pen to write and how to explain the problems. I don't know if you know how to share like these documents and start to explain about it.
We can look. I mean, if
Because
you can
it
give
will
me any,
yeah, it will be almost similar to the board in a class, or like we used to do using the computers, and you explain everything. So you can just show the files on your computer and start to explain each part, and you can use a pen, like using the mouse as a pen on the screen. So it will be
Yeah,
almost similar.
yeah, you can, yeah, we can do that. Then we can also do that with the camera.
Yeah,
So, with this thing, I can go through a problem and write.
yeah.
So
So
if you think that's going to be useful, I mean, we can,
it should be.
I can have a virtual blackboard here, so I've got plenty of paper. If you have particular examples, though, that you want to see or things that you want to cover, just let me know what it is that you're having problems with. That's why I wanted to at least go over where some of this cost data comes from. Somebody collects it all, throws it in a database somewhere. But and so that I can do. I'm still trying to set up an office here because I never expected to be in the television production business. And so I don't know a lot about it, but we're working on it. So I'm trying to get another monitor too, so I can do have a bunch of this stuff up on the screen about you guys. So
Lottie, I don't know if your internet is getting loose or
Has
adjusting.
bad connection, I think so.
Yeah, you're frozen.
Larry, you're frozen, by the way. So
I'm
that's
frozen.
okay, except you, Larry.
Moving again.
So you see, well, so okay, can you see that?
No.
No, nothing. He's a flirt.
Yeah. So I need your help. Nothing?
You need the internet, man.
Well, how about now? Can you
Loading.
see that?
I see your screen sharing.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
I need your help.
Okay.
Good.
What do you
So-
need, TP? Huh? Do you need toilet paper? What about masks? Boing. Can't hear you.
I think if we write, it's gonna be better.
Is that piano or something?
Trying, dude. Are you in a hostage situation?
From you and
Is somebody robbing you? Where'd he go?
He left.
Oh, that's funny. Last thing it says is I need your help, and he disappears.
I hope he's okay.
911.
Oh, that's funny.
Now what?
It's a hostage crisis over at his house.
Is this supposed to be with leave too? And then he. I don't
No,
know.
he can join. He can join it because he can just click on the link and he can join us.
Has everybody done the estimating
Hello,
thing?
Hey.
No? Oh, there he is.
I'm back. Sorry, the connection went bad. So,
Yeah, it was really
We
bad.
noticed.
So,
Yeah, last
Seems
thing
to be
we
better.
saw was like, we need your you need our help.
yes, I do.
We called
Yeah.
911, by the way. So you're good.
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So no, what what's going to help you or get you through the class? You need to help me, and I can do more examples and we can do more exercises. So I just need to know what is going to be most beneficial. You need to tell me. So Bassam has at least told me that we can go through some of the examples. So if you want to go over the quizzes, we can go through the quizzes and go through the answers to those. You just need to, like I said, help me out so I can do those things that you will find most beneficial. So in the end, remember, most people go broke and it starts with the estimating. So in construction, that's a common problem. So not charging enough. So it looks like we're at what, 5:55, so we're getting close to the end of the class. I will be posting this to YouTube, so you'll all be YouTube stars. And I will send you, yeah, great. I'll send you the link, so you'll need the link. I haven't made it a public YouTube channel, but I will be recording these. And then when we're done, it takes quite a while to upload these things to YouTube, but we'll go ahead and do that. And in the meantime, I guess your homework assignment, in addition to the takeoff, is just coming up with your recommendations to make this class tolerable. And so we can get you through and get you done so you don't have to do it again.
Larry,
One thing that
go ahead.
Pardon?
Go ahead.
One thing that'd be helpful is an overview of the takeoff, sort of broken down into large chunks. Maybe there's like the site and then the foundation and then the superstructure or electrical, all those kind of things, because we kind of got the beginning of it.
Okay,
It's kind of hard to tell how the whole arc goes.
okay. So,
I think we've with a bad internet.
okay.
Sunspots.
All right, what are you drinking? Since my internet connection is unstable again. So, and I think that's a problem too. It may not be me. It's just we have so many more people online now than there used to be. Because I guess most of the people are hanging out, but I did people in China are back thronging about. So we'll see what happens. So I think you give me something to think about, and I'll work on that. And I'll see you again, I hope, on Thursday. So,
No, Wednesday, right?
or Wednesday, excuse me. Forgot what day it was. I keep
It's
thinking this
Monday.
class used to be Tuesday and Thursday. And I'm still not used to the Monday, Wednesday schedule. But yeah, I'll see you again on Wednesday at the
Wednesday.
same time. Again, if you missed the meeting, we'll have that. I'll try and go through some examples, and we'll start with the basic process on how you start this. Although it will, there's no one set way of doing it, but I'll give you an overview.
Sounds
And
good.
send in your questions, put them together, and I'll send this other handout. I'll get that emailed out to you either tonight or tomorrow morning. So have a pleasant evening, unless you have to see me again in 15 minutes or so. So I'll talk to you soon, and thank you for the feedback.
Awesome.
Okay, great. See you Wednesday.
All right.
All right, thanks, man. See you Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay.
And now I gotta find my, oh yeah.